I'm Kitty Robinson and I want to show you how to make Lady Rivoli. When we first played around, we tried all sorts of different beads to use for the body. We didn't just want to use buttons like we used with the bottom ends because we wanted our Lady Rivoli a little bit more elegant than a bottom end. So we found these Rivolis. They do come in different shapes. We have tried drop ones, but we both thought that the eye shape is the best fit for the body. Now, taking it a little notch further, then we came up with a little skirt just using every ribbon yarn around, so it can have a really nice frilly, almost like a ballerina skirt, but it is your it is your decision if you want to add the skirt onto it, or if you just would like to have her plain, just with the Rivoli body and hands and arms. Now let's have a look how to make them. So the materials you're going to need for this, I'm just going to pop these out of the way, is you're going to need some size 6 seed beads. You're also going to need a couple of little pearls for the hands. She's quite petite and she's quite she's a lady, so she's got very small hands. You're going to need a couple of rice beads for her little, almost like ballet zippers, I guess. You're going to need a Rivoli backing. You're going to need a Rivoli. You're also going to need a little closed ring, so the top, if you want to turn it into a charm, and the 40mm miracle beads, the same bead what we used for the bottom one as well, so they have exactly the same head. So take a wire. The wire we will be using is a 0.4mm wire. You're going to need about 50 to 60 centimeters. Take and cut a length of wire. Then you're going to take your closed ring. You're going to add it onto your wire. Hold the ends together and then take that closed ring all the way down to the bottom. I do like to sort of just to have a couple of little turns here, so this is not going to move along and I'm not going to end up with one side bigger than the other. So I'm just holding my wires together and I'm just turning this around a couple of times. Doesn't matter which way you're going to be turning it, just to sort of make a little coil at the bottom here. So once I start shaping it, this is not going to move. Then I'm going to take both ends and I'm going to put both of them through my miracle bead. Let this slide down all the way to the bottom. And now I am ready to go into the body. So I'm going to take the ends. I'm going to take my Rivoli holder, and as you can see, the Rivoli holder is got 4 holes on them. So you got a hole on 4 sort of sides just under these lovely little prongs. So I'm going to go from inside. I'm going to go through the top on one side, and I'm going to go through the other wire to the other side. I'm going to pull this up. Now what I really would like sort of here to happen is this head to sit just right above this Rivoli holder. So I'm just going to pop it right to the corner and pull my wires tight. So that's why I really want to sit it. Now I'm going to go ahead, take one of the wires, and I'm going to pick up approximately 8, 9, 10 beads. It's up to you really how big you want to make the arm. I'm going to pick up 8 in this instance. You don't have to count them, you can also measure them with a ruler, and I'm going to pop on one of the hands as well, one of the little 3mm glass pearls. Let these go all the way down. Then I'm gonna, ignoring my little 3mm glass pearl, don't worry about the head at this point. We can straighten that out just in a sec. I'm gonna pull the 3mm pearl away, and I'm gonna take my end and go through all of those seed beads back towards the body, just like that. And I'm going to go through the hole where I came out of, and I'm diagonally going to go down to the bottom and come out here because we're going to be adding the leg there. I'm just going to pull this up nice and tight. I'm making sure that I'm not pulling too much away from the head. So you reposition it if you need to. And pull this up nice and tight so we got an arm on one side. Now I'm going to repeat the same thing for the other side. So I'm just going to turn this around. Don't forget you're working with wire so you can mold it and remold it. It's quite giving. However, don't stress it too much because it can break. So I'm going to pick up 8 beads to this side as well, or I could measure it with a ruler. So it has the same length of arm. Picking up one of the other 3mm little bead. So I have, that's my hand on the end. We have used the 6mm seed beads here because it's the same seed beads we used for the buttonman. So although Lady Rivoli is a little bit more delicate in nature, I guess, because she's a lady, we wanted to use some of the same beads as the buttonman, so they do look alike as well at the same time. So I'm coming back on my seed beads here. I'm going to go into the hole of my Rivoli, and I'm diagonally going to go across again down to the bottom. So I'm going to make sure I pull this nice and tight so the head sits the right way, and pull this up. Now if you get to this point and you have a little loop left here, like I have there, because if I pull this out, I'm going to have a little wire at the end, and this is quite loose. What you can do to remedy is to take a chain nose pliers, hold your wire at the top here, hold it sort of one end and then pull down with the other, and move your plier down as you need to tighten it up as much as you need to, and always holding on to the wire which is coming from the head, and you're pulling on the wire what you put through to be the leg. And then we're going to go ahead and add our legs. Now the legs need to be a tiny bit longer than the arms, so I usually do about 1.5 times for the leg, but it's just up to you, because like, you know, all Lady Rivolis and buttonkins can come in all sorts of shapes and sizes. Some people have longer arms, some people have shorter arms, and we're all perfect. And I'm going to add the little rice bead there. So that's going to be our little ballet zipper. Again, I'm going to turn the direction of my wire around. I'm going to ignore that rice bead, and I'm going to take my wire all the way through those seed beads. Now I just folded it over and I'm transferring them onto, so that I'm going through every single one of them. And what I'm going to do is I just want to go into my inside of my Rivoli holder here and pull this up nice and tight. I'm not going to come out anywhere else. I just want to leave the wire just sort of there for a second. Then I'm going to repeat the same thing on this side. So I'm going to add the same amount of beads. So we got the same length of leg. Just adding them on. All the way, maybe a couple more. So a good thing to see that you got the same length, that you pull both of the legs down, and then you can, if you put it side by side, push these seed beads up all the way to the top. You can see that I need possibly one more seed bead before I add my pearl bead. So I'm just going to pick up that seed bead and the pearl bead, just sort of checking on myself. I'm going to push these out because I don't need them anymore, and then going to come back through all of the seed beads, ignoring the pearl I just added, and I'm going to end up pulling my wire into the middle, again inside my Rivoli holder. That's it. You can always get your pliers and just sort of help it to sort of pull it and push it. So that's it. With that, we have got our arms, we got our legs, and we got the main body and the head done of our Rivoli lady. So I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna hold these, cross these wires over inside, and I'm gonna just hold them together just like that, where the cross is just the end of my nail. And I'm gonna start to twist either your hand and release it, or twist the Lady Rivoli herself around like she would be doing like little cartwheels. And what we're doing is just creating a little length of connecting the wire, working it off there, just twisting it around, and that's it. Don't twist it too hard because you don't want this to be too tight so that it would snag. And then I'm going to take my cutters and I'm just going to trim the end off and push this twisted wire down towards the bottom. So that's nice and secure, and this way our end will be hidden right underneath our Rivoli bead. Now at this point is when you need to decide that if you just gonna have her without the skirt, then just go ahead and add the top in. If you do want to have the skirt, then pop her to the side, and you're gonna take another piece of wire. Now this doesn't have to be long, probably about 25 centimeter is more than enough. And we're gonna take the yarn as well, this ribbon yarn from the kit. Now as you can see, this one has got 3 different layers, and you can turn the layers around whichever way you want, whichever way you want to be shown. So for example here I could have had the black showing to the top, or the white, or in fact the gray, any way I wanted them to be. I usually do I actually quite fancy the gray on the outside because I think that would blend in quite well. It's sort of like a purpley gray. So I'm gonna start on this side, the other side then. So I'm gonna slightly pull them out just to make sure they are nice and straight. Just sort of fold the ends and run my finger down in the middle. And then I'm gonna make sure this has got a really nice fold on it. And you know, the top where all those yarns are joined together, that's what I need to then take my wire, and all I'm gonna do, I'm going to take the end of my wire, I'm going to go through the top, and then I'm going to come back. And again, I'm going to go wave myself in and out, sort of front and back, along the whole edge of this ribbon yarn. Sort of going backwards and forwards, running down the length of my ribbon yarn, and this will give us the skirt. But if I wanted a different color, then I could have turned it and have the brown at the top, or the beige. It's up to you how or what color you want to show more. But I just quite like it that it's a really frilly skirt, and she looks like a little bit of a ballerina to me. You can make them in all sorts of different colors. And if you are a bit more advanced, then you could even make a little bracelet or a tiny bit necklace. If you got some smaller seed beads, or you can even do like a beaded handbag, or you know, you could add loads and loads to it. I just think they're so fun to make, and Christopher and me enjoyed them so much. We started some little sea creatures with seed beads, and we're going through quite a lot of different ones. And I think Lady Rivoli just sort of fits in the whole sort of scene we're trying to create, because she's very elegant and she's very girly as well. But if you don't want to, you don't have to add the skirt onto her. So I'm just weaving it backwards and forwards. I'm almost at the end. just going through that top. If you wanted a bigger skirt, you could do that as well. In that way, I would unfold it just like that and go through the top edge of one of the colors, and that would give you a frilly bottom and a much longer skirt as well. So you could do that as well. More like a, I guess, a Spanish dancer she would become then. Right, I got to the end. Now I'm going to take this ribbon and I'm going to take this to the middle of my wire. Now I'm going to make sure that this is not twisted, and by twisted, this is what I mean, that it's not twisted around itself. If you see it's twisted, then twist it back so you have got a nice and straight skirt there. I'm going to pull a little bit more through, and then what you need to do is to take one end and slightly go through the first few stitches on the other side, so you're turning it into a loop. So I've taken one end and just curling it around and coming around the other side. Then I'm going to pull this out a little bit, and then I'm going to take the other end and do exactly the same. And while is it important to do this, because this way your ends sort of gone past and met, and this bit, which would be our, the end and the beginning of the skirt, will be behind, and it will be hidden behind Lady Rivoli's. And then I can just pull this up. I'm going to pop her inside her skirt and just pull it up even tighter. Now I'm going to take one end and go in side the Rivoli livery holder from outside where the leg is, and pull this tight. And then I'm going to take the other end, make sure it's not caught on anything. I'm going to take the other end and do exactly the same. So I'm going to go inside where the leg comes in and just let the wire pull this tight as well. Now I'm going to do the same thing what I did for the body. I'm going to hold the two wires together. I'm going to cross them over and make sure you pulled it sort of nice and tight, not too tight, because you still need to want to pull the skirt on the top of her when we finished, but pull it tight. And then I'm just going to twirl her around to create that little bit of twisted wire to secure my ends. That's it. Now I'm going to trim the wire, and I'm going to make sure this end is just sort of sticking, well, down to the bottom or the top, but it's out of the way. Then I'm going to take the Rivoli itself and I'm going to insert it on the top of the holder, and I'm going to push down on these prongs on every side, all four sides, to secure it in there. Now I can push down with my hand. If you haven't got enough strength in your hand, you can always take your pliers, keep it closed, and then push down the top of the prong to really secure that Rivoli. Right, and all is left to do, so we're going to take the front of her skirt, we're going to pull away and upwards. So what we want to do is to pull the skirt over the bottom of that Rivoli, so it does really look like she's got a very nice skirt, frilly skirt coming out from her waist. Slightly, I like to just slightly play with that ribbon a little bit. You can pull it out even more. You can pull them out separately. So separate them up a little bit once you made them. That will give an even bigger ruffly skirt for her. But I think she just looks really gorgeous. And you can set them in so many different positions. I have got one which just sits on my desk on the top of a little pot of seed beads. Bless her, just sort of brightening my day every single day. Whenever I look at it, it just makes me smile. And that's it to it. It's not hard to make, very easy. Do include your children, grandchildren, nieces, or neighbors' children, anybody you have, because I think something like this, like my son, it makes them really, really crafty and creating like a little, you know, like a little person, which then they can play with. Thank you very much for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Check out the other videos on this playlist to learn more techniques just like this.